right, with me now to continue this discussion is Michael Blake, former Democratic National Committee Vice Chair, and Liam Donovan, former aide for the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Thank you, gentlemen, both for being here. Michael, I'm going to start with you. J.D. Vance's past comments, the people that are most deranged and most psychotic are people that don't have children. He's now not only attacking women, he's attacking anyone who doesn't have kids. How big of a gift is this to the Democrats?
Oh, it's the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, JD's going to need a cat when they take a loss in November because he's going to keep talking like this. It's only going to help us. It's sexist. It's derogatory. He's clearly not walking away from this. And let's also be clear, sir, he doubled down on this multiple times. He truly believes this. And so for anyone who doesn't have a biological child, he is making it very clear that you can't take care of families. Now, let's make sure we're clear on the contrast. Vice President Harris leads the Maternal Health Task Force. She leads on home ownership. She's clearly the highest ranking woman to serve in this nation's history. And so to say that she can't help families, let's be very clear. When she's commander-in-chief, she's going to help more families than J.D. Vance ever did with his books.
She also is a stepmother, and that's sort of been swept aside as not being a mother.
Yeah, they call her Mamala. I mean,
right.
Let's be clear about that.
Liam, I'm going to go to you next, but first I want you to hear how Vance talked about this and tried to clean this up just recently. Let's listen.
The simple point that I made is that having children, becoming a father, becoming a mother, I really do think it changes your perspective in a pretty profound way. People are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megan, I'm sorry, it's true. It is true that we become anti-family. It is true that the left has become anti-child. A lot of liberals and a lot of people on the left will say, well, we can just replace American children with immigrants.
So he did not really clean it up there. There are 21 million women in the United States between the ages of, I think, 20 and 39 from the data I looked up in 2022 that had not given birth. Is this a real liability for Donald Trump's campaign?
Well, look, I think it's a reflection of two things. Number one is the political incentives on the right of trying to build a name for yourself. It plays to a glibness and a tone that doesn't really play when it comes to national politics. But this also reflects the fact that Donald Trump has been able to say and do whatever he's wanted for about 9 years, and Democrats have found sort of a soft spot on this ticket, and by going after J.D. Vance, he's judged by a different standard than Donald Trump does. My question is, why has it been 2 weeks without J.D. Vance really taking the opportunity to reintroduce himself? I like J.D. Vance. I supported him in his Senate campaign. I see a lot of myself in him as a millennial dad. I think his family is probably the best thing he brings to this ticket, but he hasn't been able to be out there and introduce himself to most of the country, which hasn't really met him. They might have a vague notion of who he is, but they're really ceding the playing field to Democrats, and I think that's a mistake. They need to get on an offensive message and reintroduce J.D. in a proactive way, not a reactive way, trying to play cleanup. If you're explaining, you're losing.
I just, following that, can he be reintroduced, Michael? I mean, these comments have said over and over and over again. It's kind of hard to clean something up that you keep repeating over time.
Let's be clear. The subtitle of his book, when we're talking about reintroducing himself, is a memoir of a family and culture in crisis. He was talking about himself.
Right.
So the notion that somehow childless cat ladies are not, it's absurd, it's sexist, and let's make sure we're very clear. It's derogatory and racist that now he's saying, well, it's immigrant children are going to be doing this. And so at the end of the day, they did a terrible vetting job. They clearly were not prepared for the moment. And they have a disastrous candidate for their VP nominee, which will make it much easier for Kamala Harris to become president of the United States.
I want to ask you one more question about Vance. His former classmate was on with Erin Burnett last night. They were in Yale together, and he said she showed all these emails and text messages between him and J.D. Vance at the time, and they were very personal. But in it, some of those text messages said things like, that J.D. Vance hates the police, and there are some shifting views that you start to notice. Can you imagine at any time Kamala Harris using the words, "I hate police," and that not being used by the other side?
It would be disastrous. And let's be clear, the so-called law and order party is ignoring the fact that they have a VP nominee who literally wrote and said to his friends he hates the police. So I don't want to hear any more about us being liberal, us being left, and saying that in the regard. And to your question, There is no scenario where they would not be up and down TV, losing their mind, talking about us if they ever had a black woman talking about she hates the police. They want to talk about her being a prosecutor. Maybe they should get their house in order first.
Liam, what do you think Republicans need to do to deal with Kamala Harris? Because it seems like the messaging keeps changing. It's like they're trying to find the attack, but they haven't found it yet.
You know, they've been slow. They've been on the back foot, as J.D. Vance mentioned. It was a bit of a sucker punch. I think they weren't surprised by the shift away from Biden. They were surprised by how quickly people have coalesced around Kamala Harris. They thought they were going to have a few more weeks of chaos to exploit. But I think they really need to coordinate this message. I think it's pretty clear from the best message we've seen up on the air that needs to be communicated and distributed. The surrogates are not on message. They need to organize this and really prosecute the case against Kamala Harris, because she is not defined in the way that Joe Biden was, but that means that the American people need to hear the case against her. There's plenty to work with. In her own words, she has staked out positions that are out of step with the mainstream. That's what people need to be reminded of, and that's what I expect to see for the next 99 days.
It's interesting.
That doesn't even make sense. How are you going to prosecute a prosecutor? That's what I'm saying. They don't even have their messaging tight. Even their own surrogates can't even get it right. I mean, the reality is they're in a complete disaster. The notion that they're saying they weren't prepared for the vice president to be running, that just shows where they're at right now. And they have no message. They have no argument. Their entire framing was Joe Biden is old. Well, your candidate is old. You have no policies. You have no vision. And the reality is they have candidates who do not have anything to say to the American people, which is why we have seen so much energy for the next president of the United States.
We will see how this all tumbles out. The Democratic National Committee is happening August 19th. That's when it begins. We will see how this goes up until that point and beyond. Liam, Michael, thank you both for being here.